Piss and Vinegar day 178, I think. I never really truly know, but I seem to get it right most of the time what day it is. But anyway, arm day. So right arm, just getting this arm bigger. So every 4 days I'm training arms. As I said yesterday, the split is, chest, back, shoulder day, then leg day, then arm day, then accessory day, or however the boat floats. I don't know. I'm probably going to be doing legs today maybe, or I don't know what I'll do today because it's raining and my new cool leg press machine's at the rain, which is a shame. But anyway, maybe I'll wait until a sunny day because I want to show that thing off and I want to use it because it is good. And I can actually do proper leg presses and hack squats to failure and shit rather than doing a bunch of like body weight nonsense. But anyway, today I just want to talk about intrinsic training and like kind of thinking about it lately and doing it. For the longest time you hear people say, oh, don't just do training however you want to do it. Don't just go in and willy-nilly do anything. And I mean, there is definitely something to this. And in very recent times, I've been super stringent. Like everything was standardized. Rep ranges, sets, weights, exercises were all very much the same every single time, to make sure that nothing ever deviated. But I was thinking today, or in the last few days, like, why do we have to standardize training so heavily? Like, why do we need to progressively overload? Or why do we need to use progressive overload as the number one, factor of training? And I was thinking, like, ultimately, what is progressive overload? It's simply just a way of ascertaining whether or not what we're doing is right. Like, you don't inherently progressively overload to try and gain muscle. Obviously, it's a byproduct of training and nutrition. But at the end of the day, like, if you generally know what you're doing, if you know that you are in a calorie surplus and that you are indeed gaining weight and you're looking more muscular, then you can guarantee that you're progressively overloaded. Whether or not you are monitoring it or not, you will know that you are getting bigger and that you're getting stronger. Like, obviously, if you're doing powerlifting and you need to ascertain a certain level of strength, then yeah, you're gonna have to really monitor the shit out of that stuff. But in bodybuilding, I don't think it matters anywhere as much. Like, obviously, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, or a stronger muscle is a bigger muscle, and thus you want to progressively overload, say a chin-up from 5 pull-ups to 20 weighted pull-ups. But unless you're cutting weight or you're not or you're maintenance calories, I don't think you really need to track that as much as you think you do, because it just simply will be that you are progressing. If you are if you haven't been training that long, especially, you will undeniably be progressing. Now, I'm saying this is just like kind of like rambles and theorizing. Like, I think progressive overload and tracking it is very important, but I've just been thinking about it lately and try not to be too pedantic about it. So right now, I'm not progressive. I'm not tracking anything. I'm just totally intrinsically training. I'm going in and doing whatever the fuck I want to do, and I'm only really focusing on 1, training to failure, and 2, getting a pump. And right now I'm not worrying about sets or reps. I'm not even necessarily doing high intensity training with a lot of my body parts. I mean, I am. Most of my body parts, except for my biceps, out of paranoia for a re-rupture on my right bicep or whatever. Apart from my right bicep, everything is going to failure, but I'm doing like, maybe a set or 3 depending on the body part. I'm just doing what I feel like doing right now. And you know what? I'm having way more fun. And I'm feeling the muscles way better. And yeah, mainly I'm just having more fun. It is just more fun to just go in and just do whatever the fuck you want. And what I'm trying to do over the next month or so of recovering my left side is doing this experiment where I just intrinsically train. And if by some chance I'm at the very least able to maintain my gains whilst maintaining my weight, but if I'm gaining muscle, let's say for example my right bicep, my right arm rather, if by just doing this weird intrinsic training where I'm just training everything to failure, not worrying about the weights, I'm not tracking a fucking damn thing, my arm grows, then I'll definitely know this shit works. I'll know that there is a benefit to just kind of hammering the muscle into the dust, going to failure and then way beyond, and then just really trying to focus on the muscle rather than moving a weight to a certain area. Because the problem is, especially, let's say for example you have a incline dumbbell press and your ego is involved, right? You want to keep progressively overloading, but then at some point, as as it is natural to cease progression, as you keep going and progressing and pressing, it slows down. at some point it slows down. You're like, man, this is pissing me off. Like, I want to get more weight. I want to get stronger at this. You see, a lot of times what will happen is people will start using sloppier form. They'll do less range of motion. They won't control the negative as much. They'll explode through their legs. They will do things to keep progressing because they're like, man, this is pissing me off. Like, I want to keep progressing, and because they're so, you know, overwhelmed by the idea that unless their weight is going up, they're not gaining muscle, or if they're not seriously progressively overloading, they're not getting muscle. But this is ridiculous. Like, at the end of the day, let's say you're doing an incline dumbbell press and you're bulking, like I was gaining, you know, I gained a lot of strength on the incline dumbbell press, for example. Let's say, for example, I don't know, biceps. My biceps barely got any stronger over the last bulk. Like, everything else got way stronger, but my biceps didn't really, right? I maybe increased my wall curl, strict curl, 1 rep max or whatever by like 5 kilos, which doesn't sound like much, but at the end of the day, relative to a big compound movement like a squat, that's a lot of weight. And also, just because I only gained 5 kilos doesn't mean I didn't gain muscle. I gained an inch to my arms, 1.5 inches over the bulk I did. And then, you know, once I kind of started cutting and it leaned out, they kind of came around to about an inch increase from last cut. Whereas my quadriceps, where I gained, I think, 60 kilos to my squat, my quads grew like a half a fucking inch, maybe an inch. It wasn't that much. It was pretty nominal. They got way more defined, but they only grew about an inch, as maybe even less than my arms. Now, obviously, this is genetic. My arms are more genetically blessed than my legs by far. But you would think that in a 60 kilo squat increase, on the, you know, box squat, that went up by 60 kilos. On the leverage squat, which is way more quad dominant, it went up like, 50, 60 kilos. Everything in my legs went way stronger, and yet I only gained maybe an inch max to my legs, and that's, you know, plus a lot of fat that went to my quads, you know. So just because you aren't gaining a tremendous amount of strength doesn't mean that you're not getting bigger. I mean, professional bodybuilders, you look at their training, seldom do they really look like they're really tracking the shit they're doing. They're just kind of going in there, looking to get a good pump, getting a good stimulus, and then they're out. You know, there's only a few bodybuilders I've noticed who really track that shit, Dorian Yates being one of them, and him being a huge inspiration to me. That's part of why I've been so obsessive about tracking my shit. But I don't know, I think it takes away from your, you know, other aspects of bodybuilding, like focusing on the mind-muscle connection. If you're thinking about, all right, last time I got 8 reps, I really need to get 11 today, or I got 8 last time, I really need to try and get 8 again, you're not going to be focusing anywhere as much about controlling the negative, or doing, you know, much more, doing a certain form variance that allows you to feel the bicep better, or experimenting mid-set. Like when I was doing the biceps earlier today, I was bicep curling. The bar was maybe a foot or two in front of me, like the little cable bar that I was using, and then I just decided, this doesn't feel as good as I'd like it to. Let me move forward, and I moved it so it was behind myself. So I was doing sort of like almost like a decline bicep curl, which, as we know, decline bicep curls are incredible because you get a stretch of the bicep. Whereas if I was just thinking about getting weight from A to B because I wanted to progressively overload, then my bicep I wouldn't have been able to experiment with that movement. So, you know, there is definitely areas where you will be lacking if you're just really thinking about the rep ranges, right? And I haven't been counting reps at all. I've just been thinking about the muscle. Ideally, right, you'd have a training partner to count the reps for you, and then you say, how many did I get? And you go, oh, you got that much, and then you jot it down. That'd be way better. Or maybe you tell them to tell you that one more rep to get to progress, right? Like if you got 8 on the incline dumbbell press, they say one more rep, and you go for a 9, and if you get it, they'll be like, great, that's progression, awesome. And people love hearing that shit. I always tell my clients every time they train that when they do progress, because you don't always progress too, by the way, especially if you're cutting weight. A lot of my clients, they're trying to lose weight, so you know it's fucking hard to increase your bench press when you're in a 1,000 calorie deficit or whatever. But when they do progress, or very often do progress, because you know they're pretty new and I know how to train, I say, oh great, progression, and they go, oh awesome. Like, everyone fucking loves hearing progression. Especially when you're like been training for a long time. Like if you add 2 reps to an incline dumbbell press when you've been training for 6 years, 7 years, 8, 10 years, it's like, fuck yeah, that was sick. So you know, it doesn't have to be these crazy massive jumps, and ultimately if you are progressing in strength, you are getting stronger. I'm sorry, bigger. We're also getting stronger. So anyway, progressive over, just keeping that in mind, what I will do, I think, when I'm getting back to it, I mean, apart from what I'll do when I get back, what I'm doing right now is experimenting with exercises. See what I like. How much volume do I need to really feel like I hammered that shit? Because I do generally believe that one set to mechanical failure, maybe a drop set or a rest pause will suffice. But I just I don't know, I've just been enjoying like doing maybe a extra set. This is blasphemy for high intensity. Mike Mensa's turning in his grave, but I don't know, I've been enjoying it. I just like, you know, I haven't been doing like actual sets, right? Because I hate resting in between, you know, sets. It's fucking boring as shit. What I do is I'll do like this set here. I do like maybe not this one, but like I'll just do basically a 60-second rest pause. Like I just rest 60 seconds between sets and then get back to it, and I just keep blasting it. Like that was what I was doing with the bicep curls, right? I would just like go almost to failure. I had to do a lot of volume for the biceps because I'm scared of tearing the biceps, so I don't go to absolute failure. I go a rep in reserve, but I put the weight down. I rest maybe 30 seconds and then I go again. So they're really long rest pauses, like 5 or 6 of them, you know what I mean? So it's definitely not like 4 sets of 8 to 12. It's like fucking 4 or 5 rest pauses, just nuking the muscle. And I don't know, I find it fun. The pump is insane. You know, the occlusion band is something interesting. I'll be using that a lot for my arms, both arms, but especially my left arm when I get back to it, because I don't want to re-tear the bicep. I'll be able to get more out of less weight with an occlusion band. And that's why I've been banding on my right arm, because, you know, if I can bicep curl 30 kilos without the band, I can only bicep maybe 20 with the band. So it's interesting. It's incredible for pumps. Like my arms look fucking crazy when I strap them up. But yeah, I don't know. I've been enjoying the intrinsic training. So what I'm thinking going forward is what I'll do is when I can go back to full-on training is just, well, I'll probably have one body part where I do intrinsic training. So everything will go back to really standardized and making sure everything is exactly the same and no parameters change too much. But maybe one of my body parts, I'm thinking chest, because chest is a big lagging body part for me. And I don't know, there's something about the intrinsic training where I feel my right pec has already grown. It's weird. So maybe when I get back into piss and vinegar full blown, when I'm fully healed up, I'll start doing intrinsic training for chest. I won't worry about increasing my bench press or incline dumbbell press or any of that shit. I'm just gonna hammer my fucking chest into the dirt with lots of sets to failure, lots of rest pauses, and just like let my chest just get crushed. Because, you know, my pecs grew quite a bit over the last bulk, but not as much as I'd like them to, so I may as well try something new. As Dorian Yates always said, right? If you've done something for the last few months and it hasn't changed your physique or strength or anything, why would you continue doing that? Just repeating something that doesn't work. Why would you then just do that for years on end? So my pecs, in saying that, my pec training was working. I was progressively overloading everything, but it just wasn't as ideal as I thought it was. Everything else grew quite a bit. My back, my arms, shoulders especially, legs not too much. I chalked that up to just not having the right equipment. But my pecs, they just still stayed very stubborn, and that's genetic, but maybe it's not. So I'm going to do that with intrinsic training. I'm just going to go fucking crazy with my chest, and that's how I'm going to do it. But everything else I keep it standardized, except for maybe less exercise of a given body part. So let's say, for example, I'm doing side delts, right? Rather than doing just the 3 sets of drop sets and side delts that I was already doing, I'd fucking hammer them. I do way more rest pauses, way more drop sets. Maybe do like a mechanical drop set by switching over to cables after I'm dumbbell. Side delts, maybe like things like that where it's not followed up by another exercise that requires side delts, then I'll hammer them. Whereas like back day, for example, if I start with a lat pull down and I just go all out crazy with it and try to hit my lats into fucking oblivion, and then I follow that up by a cable row and I'm trying to hit my upper lats or my upper back rather on the cable row, I'm not going to be able to hit the cable row anywhere as good, and then my upper back thickness is going to suffer based on the fact that I crushed my latimus dorsi and my lats are taking over entirely when I'm trying to do rows for upper back thickness. That would be not the best idea. But then a finish back day with a pullover or some accessory movement that isolates, maybe that movement I would take that to absolute bonkers fucking failure where I do like a J.M. Blakely approach, which is basically what I'm doing here. You just put a weight on, don't really worry about it, and you just fucking hammer your muscle into the dust. Maybe that's what I'll do and see what the growth is like. Or maybe forearms, do the basic stuff and then end it with like a crazy all-out set drop set thing. I won't do it with every muscle because then it would be impossible to know what's working, what's not. But maybe chest, side delts or something, or maybe biceps, because I'm going to be very fucking worried about tearing the biceps. So I'm thinking when I go back to piss and vinegar full time, all out, both arms, I'll do biceps, chest, and side delts, and I'll just do sort of intrinsic training there, where at the end of all the exercises that I've done, I'll do one crazy fuck off drop set, rest pause, spectacular, insane thing, where I just get a crazy pump and whatever. So that's the plan. I'm gonna get a bit more intrinsic with it, right? What else? These fucking videos are long, I tell you what, because I'm doing all these fucking crazy sets and reps, and I'm doing a lot more exercises, and yeah, normally, these workouts have been taking maybe 30, 40 minutes, whereas high intensity normally was 15, 20 minutes. And that's kind of also the thing, is like, I'm thinking about trying to change my physique proportions, and maybe I'll make that a different video, but part of that will be, some days are going to be longer than others in the future when I bulk and I do my full-on training again. Triceps, for example, I have very strong triceps genetically, so I'm not going to do crazy sets beyond failure and shit. I'll just do a mechanical set to failure, maybe a drop set, and that's it. But certain muscles that I really want to build up, like maybe the side delts, I'll be doing them like crazy because I want certain proportions. But fuck, what was I going with this? I totally forgot. Man, this video is too fucking long. Got fucking 3 minutes to go. Oh yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, some days will be like the old high intensity training of old, where I train for like 15-20 minutes, unless I'm doing live action voiceovering, which that makes workouts go longer. But I'm enjoying working out a lot more than I used to, through the things that I've accumulated over time. High intensity training and now this intrinsic training has allowed me to really quite enjoy this training. Even right now when I'm injured and I'm not able to train properly, I'm still enjoying my training quite a lot. Right now it's almost like the things that you can't do make you want to do it even more. So I've been enjoying training quite a lot, even though I can't train properly, because I'm just like, I want to train so bad, and I still get sort of a facsimile of what I was used to be doing. So there'll be like probably 15-minute days, and then there'll be really long days where I do crazy intrinsic shit. Who knows, man? I'm just having fun with it, dude, and that's kind of the point of the intrinsic training, is just to have more fun. And who knows, maybe you unlock some gains, because at the end of the day, high intensity training fucking for sure works. But let's just say that, because my genetics, for example, are nowhere as good as a Mike Mensa or a Dorian Yates, not even close, that for me, or at least certain muscle groups being so genetically uninclined for growth, maybe they need more stimulus. You know what I mean? This is blasphemy again. Everyone, high intensity guys are so dogmatic. I'm not dogmatic at all. I don't like being dogmatic. I think it's good to have an open view. That's how I got into high intensity in the first place, because you have to be open-minded to get in high intensity, because it seems so ridiculous. One set to failure, that works. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, what's to say that for me, let's say for example my chest being so genetically uninclined for growth that it might need more stimulus. Like maybe one set to failure just doesn't quite cut it. Like a Dorian Yates or a Mike Mensa, these shorter, really heavily mesomorphic rather, heavily mesomorphic, heavily roided up guys, perhaps there's something to a little bit more stimulus. I'm not necessarily saying volume, because I'm not doing numerous sets, but way more rest pauses, way more drop sets, way more of a pump. Maybe because I'm not on steroids, I need more of a sarcoplasmic response, because when you're on steroids, you get way more sarcoplasmic hypertrophy from training. But if you're natural and you're just doing one set to failure and not getting an optimal pump, then perhaps I'm missing 15-20% of the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy that I'd otherwise get. Now, it seems in all the studies that sarcoplasmic hypertrophy you can't separate from normal hypertrophy. When you train, you get both, and then when you're on steroids, you get more sarcoplasmic, because steroids will induce more water retention, glycogen retention, etc. But these studies have been done likely on volume trainers because most people train with volume. So maybe we would see if they did a high intensity study on sarcoplasmic hypertrophy that you get less sarcoplasmic hypertrophy because you get less of a pump because you're not doing as many sets and you're not getting blood volume. So perhaps I'm missing out in certain areas because of lack of mind muscle connection, lack of stimulus because I need more stimulus, and perhaps a lack of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. I'll tell you what, this right fucking arm is mad pumped after this fucking training, and there has to be something to the pump. People always say it, especially like Mensa guys, pump doesn't mean anything, and perhaps not, but I'd rather bargain on the idea that it does mean something, because there's definitely a increase in sarcoplasmic size, at least temporarily after you pump, but just intrinsically it would make sense that when you expand the sarcoplasm, that its wall would stay slightly expanded. It's kind of like when you eat way too much. Your stomach expands, it shrinks back down, but it never quite shrinks all the way back to its original state. So who knows? But also, I just enjoy having a sick pump. It's like it's fucking fun, especially the forearm. So intrinsic training, it's here to stay. In what way, I don't know. But the whole fucking next few months is going to be intrinsic training. So see you guys for more Piss and Vinegar. Bye bye.